measurement and or
Yeah, that's fine.
maybe when you're measuring the paintbrush. Okay, I'm done. I don't know what to say. How would you measure if you don't have a ruler? But if you do have a ruler and it's not long enough, how do you do it? How do you measure the shelves if they're too big for your house? Which one's heavier, a parallelistic or 20 units? When might you measure it on days where you have to do stuff quickly? Like when they have like a quick art? But like what do you measure?
You mean the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, the time. So yeah. Okay. So when they have art, for example? Yeah, so if we have activity centers and there's lots of toys out, then I have to in my head measure and kind of calculate to see how much time will we need to clean up so they will be ready in time. And then we put the timer. If nothing is out much, then we only need 1 minute, right? But if a lot of the toys are out, then I have to kind of measure the time. Okay, I think it will take 10 minutes. Then I'll put the timer to 10 minutes. Does that make sense?
Yes. So,
サイズで困るとき、あるよ。例えばお洋服とか買うとき、お洋服もサイズがあるでしょ。そうでしょ。でもさ、インターネットでさ、何センチですよって見てもさ、ちょっとわかんないんだよね。着てみないと。そういう時はちょっとサイズで迷っちゃう。で、いいかなと思ってさ、インターネットで買ってもさ、着てみるとさ、ちょっと大きかったりちっちゃかったりするとさ、間違えたって思っちゃう。だから本当お店に行って着てみたいんだよね。
私もやりたいけど。
だってサイズって大切じゃない？だって大きすぎると変でしょ？でもさ、ちっちゃすぎるとさ、かっこ悪いでしょ？そうだよね。他にはまだまだ質問あるの？
これが
大人はもう大きくならないんだよ。
大人の海になんかでどんどんね小さくなるんでしょ。
そうだね。どんどん小さくなっていくね。
私もどんどん曲げてる。
そうだね。他には質問ある
？Why do you measure stuff when you're painting?
So when I'm painting, I measure things a lot, but I don't measure so accurately. I use something called estimation. And estimation, you develop that by doing lots and lots of measuring, and then eventually you get quite good at it. So I have to get paint out for groups or for myself, and I have to get the right amount of paint out so that we don't waste it. So I have to estimate how much we might use, and I pull that out. Another time I have to estimate is when I'm ordering paint, because I have to order a lot of paint. I need to work out how much I'm going to need for the next few months to order.
They're not so cranky.
So cranky lines. Okay, so I use a ruler, and I have a really big long meter ruler, and I use short rulers, but I don't always use a ruler. Sometimes I just need a straight line, and I might use the edge of a book, or I might use a piece of folded cardboard or something to do my line, depending on what I'm doing. So I don't always use a ruler. I do measure when I'm framing work. I have to measure exactly how small the work fits into the actual frame.
Is it when you're measuring? What makes it easy to measure?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think experience makes it easy for me to measure stuff. I've been measuring my whole life, so I've been measuring lots of things.
Do you think measuring is important?
Well, I think it's very important, yes.
What makes you say that?
That's a good question. You're making me explain my answer. Well, I think it's important so that you can be fair and that you can get your message across clearly. So, for example, take the hairdresser. Imagine if I didn't say this much, 2 centimeters from my hair. I could have looked like this. Can you imagine? So it's important for that reason. Or, let's say I was measuring how much sugar to put in my coffee. I don't put sugar in my coffee, but imagine I did. I could use a big spoon, or I could use a little spoon, couldn't I? Right? So let's imagine that I put in the wrong size of spoon. If I put in a dessert spoon or a tablespoon instead of a teaspoon, I would have a completely different tasting coffee, right? So it affects my life. Can you imagine with my example of this, and I didn't do this for 1 minute, but I did it for 1 hour. Can you imagine how tired I would be?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to make sure I'm measuring, or imagine if I'd given my wife this much coffee and I'd given myself this much coffee, and she came out of the bedroom and saw how much coffee I'd give, how do you think she'd react?
Sad?
Right. Angry. Yeah, she'd probably be angry. Do you know who my wife is? Kyoka the librarian. It's my wife. Did you know that? Yeah. So yes, I think that in order to be communicating and to be getting what you want carefully and to share in the right way, and all of these reasons, it's important to measure. Any more questions? No?
In baseball, when I hit the ball, I need to know how far it goes, and then I need to know how much bases I need to run. So, how high the ball is, and if it goes super high, it go out of the stadium, and that called a home run. I like to measure the amount of food I have in it, so I get the amount of the things I need in what I'm making. But when I'm baking cake, I use measuring cups, sifters, so I can get all the big grains of flour. And when I get the cake, when I have some toppings, I use a recipe to make sure I have the right amount of it. And that's all I kind of use for measuring for cooking. So like in PE, we measure like things like when we race, we measure how far we go, and dinosaurs, how big are they? They got to be the same size. And I measure like I make houses in Jurassic Park. I measure when I need to have the cake on the right temperature. I measure how long. And I learned about measurement that when we were doing stuff, most of the time we measure, but you don't know really that you measure. You're measuring, but you're actually measuring all the time. Some of the time, like when you were like this tall, and then you buy and there's only clothes but it is this tall, and then you have to measure how long would it be for your size. So, and like also when you were like doing something, you have to measure how big it has to be and how small it has to be. So, and I also learned that measuring is really important in your life, and it can help you really much to know what to do.
I need to make a hole where the entire me can fit through this. I like these kind of mind game puzzles, but you got me perplexed. I am really struggling.
skip through.
Come here. I just found a very mystery